Mr. President, before I begin my remarks this morning, I want to offer a word of welcome to the new senator from South Carolina. Later today, we will swear in Darlene Graham to fill the seat of her brother and our friend, Lindsey Graham. And I know Darlene will carry on Lindsey's tireless service for South Carolina, and I look forward to serving with her. Mr. President, like many of us, I represent a state with a rich heritage of military service. And South Dakota continues to punch above its weight in our armed forces. Our National Guard is frequently called up for critical deployments at home and around the world. And Ellsworth Air Force Base is a key asset to our national defense. In fact, today Ellsworth is the largest construction site in the Air Force as it prepares to host the first B-21 bombers next year. During the recent state work period, I was glad to welcome Air Force Secretary Troy Mink, a South Dakota native, to Ellsworth. We met with the base leadership and some of the airmen stationed there, and we saw the progress the base is making as it prepares for its important new mission. Mr. President, whether responding to a natural disaster at home or fighting our enemies abroad, the men and women in America's armed forces stand ready to answer the call. They are our most important national security asset. And we have an obligation here in Congress to ensure that they have everything they need for whatever the mission may be. I know senators on both sides of the aisle take that obligation seriously, and we must. As I've said so often before, if you don't get national security right, the rest is just conversation. If we don't make national security a priority here, we run the risk that Americans serving in uniform won't have what they need when they need it. Mr. President, that's why the National Defense Authorization Act is one of the most important bills that we do each year. It's the bill that helps ensure our military is ready today and prepared for tomorrow. And I'm proud that our colleagues on the Armed Services Committee, with the leadership of Chairman Wicker and Ranking Member Reed, have reported out a strong National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2027. For the 66th year in a row, the Armed Services Committee has produced a bipartisan NDAA. And later today, we're going to have a vote to proceed to this important bill. Mr. President, we've had regular reminders over the last few years that we live in a dangerous world, that America still has enemies that want to attack us, our allies, and our interests. We've seen, too, how quickly warfare evolves in this day and age. Mr. President, this year's NDAA will not only help ensure that America can keep pace with those challenges, but also that we can outpace our adversaries. It puts a heavy emphasis on unmanned systems, especially drones and counter-drone measures. It also continues shipbuilding efforts to strengthen our naval fleet. And as for our air power, this year's bill will help ensure we maintain a force of at least 1,800 fighters and supports the new B-21 long-range strategic bomber. Mr. President, there's a lot I could talk about in this bill, from investing in our nuclear deterrent to supporting munitions production. But I'll mention just two more important aspects of this year's bill. First, it builds on efforts in last year's NDAA to reform defense acquisition. That includes allowing multi-year procurement contracts that allow the Pentagon to do business more efficiently with greater predictability and savings for taxpayers. And Mr. President, I need to mention what this bill does for the men and women serving our country and their families who serve alongside them. This year's NDAA supports a 3.6% pay raise for our troops, and it invests in a number of quality-of-life improvements for them and their families. Investments in education, housing, health care, and child care. Mr. President, our colleagues on the Armed Services Committee have put forward a strong bill for our national security and for the men and women who defend our nation. It's my hope that we'll be able to pass this bill out of the Senate soon and begin the process of working with our counterparts in the House and with the White House on a final bill. Republicans are ready to go. The question is, how will Democrats vote today? Are there enough Democrat senators who support moving forward with a bipartisan, Mr. President, defense bill? I see no reason that there shouldn't be. But then again, Democrats have allowed the politics of obstruction to determine so many of their actions for the last year and a half. I certainly hope that Democrats won't now put politics ahead of support for our men and women in uniform. But that's up to them.